Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these 5 topics that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper. Now coming to the first article. Now this article is saying that ICC issues arrest warrants against Netanyahu, Israel's Prime Minister, Gallant and Defense Minister of Israel and Hamas leaders. This is the context of the news. Now this article is relevant from the examination perspective. Why? In previous year GS paper 2, it was asked that what is the role of WHO in controlling the and managing the COVID-19 pandemic? So, international organizations is a syllabus topic in GS paper 2. Not only that, in prelims PYQ, it was asked that whether India is a member of particular organization or not. Now, in this way, here India is not a member of ICC. Remember the fact from the prelims perspective. Now, in this way, this news item is very important from the examination perspective, right? Now, we will see certain context of the news. Now, why it issued arrest warrant? Because of the war happening in the Gaza. There are many civilians died. So this is why the leaders of both Hamas and Israel got the arrest warrant. Now, because of this arrest warrant, they become internationally wanted suspects. Now, what is the impact of such decision? Now, it is said that as per this treaty, the members of the ICC should arrest. If not arrest, they have to restrict the movement of the individuals who have been issuing arrest warrant. Right now, in this context, the decision's impact is that it may limit the Israel's efforts in negotiating the ceasefire. Now, this is what this article is mentioning. But this article also said that there is practical limitations in implementing this decision. Because why? Israel is not a member in this. Remember this fact from the examination perspective. USC is not a member. Okay. And as a response to this, now Israel rejected that these are just framed. There is no reasonable. And Joe Biden also said that Israel has the right to defense. Now, why the ICC issued such warrant? Now, ICC is saying that Israel knowingly deprived civilians, especially people of Gaza, medicine, food, and essential items. Now, this is what the context of the news. Now, from the prelims perspective, we will see certain facts also. ICC, International Criminal Court, was established based on the Rome Statute in 1998. It came into force in 2002. Remember this fact. And please don't confuse with ICJ, International Court of Justice. Now, ICJ is one of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations, right? The common things among both of them are headquartered in Hague, Netherlands. Okay. Now, what did it do? It prosecutes individuals particularly. Remember that it prosecutes individuals, not states. ICC prosecutes individuals, not states. Remember this fact. If someone is responsible for war crimes, genocide, crimes against humanity, crimes of aggression. Now, another important thing is ICC decisions are binding. Now, these are the things you have to keep in mind. Now, other important thing is that India, Israel, USA are not the members. Now, why India is not member, we will see here. Now, as it is said, there are practical limitations. Now, these limitations are important from the mains perspective. Just see here. There is a lack of enforcement mechanism because it does not have its own police force. It depends upon the member states. Now, member states have to arrest, either limit the movement of these individuals, right? If the member states don't cooperate, there won't be any enforcement mechanism, right? Non-state parties have no obligation. Now, here Israel is also a non-state party, right? There is no obligation of complying these rules and directions. It completely relies on the state cooperation. Now, hence, it is really practically impossible to implement at the ground level. Now, other important criticism is that exclusion of nuclear weapons and terrorism from the ICC jurisdiction. As it is said, ICC has jurisdiction over 4 things: war crimes, genocide, crimes against humanity, and crimes of aggression. Now, India is saying that terrorism is also comes under the crimes against humanity, but it is not included. Now, this is what the criticism by India. Now, another criticism is it is a tool of Western imperialism, right? It is mostly in the hands of few individuals. That is what it is saying. Another important thing, it complements the national criminal system. That is, if the national criminal system is not effective, then only the intervention of ICC will be there. Next, there is no investigation. It may be commenced after the Secretary Council. What does it mean? If UNSC directed the ICC, there will be no investigation. Hence, it indicates the bias of particular organization. UN Security Council power to bind the non-state parties to the ICC. This is against the principle of sovereignty. No jurisdiction with respect to any person under the age of 15. This is important from the prelims perspective. Now, these are the things you have to remember from both prelims and mains perspective, right? Now, from the ICJ, we will learn certain basic things. Now, it is part of the UN, okay? Now, another important things, all the members of the UN are also part of ICJ. Now, other important thing is that contrary to the ICJ don't have jurisdiction over the individuals, organizations, NGOs. It only solves disputes regarding boundary disputes, water disputes, or something like that. Okay, it does not consider about war crimes or no war crimes. Okay. Now, these are the things you have to keep in mind. This headquarters is also in Netherlands. Okay, and another important fact about ICJ is it is the only UN principal organ that is outside the New York. Now, these are the things you have to keep in mind. Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is about artificial intelligence and its usage in multidisciplinary perspectives from the humans. Now, there are many articles today published in the Hindu newspaper regarding artificial intelligence. Now, all these articles are saying that artificial is more beneficial to humans. It is that the artificial intelligence is as good as the data it feeds. Now, in a crux, all these articles are saying like this. Now, it is said that artificial intelligence cannot replace humans, they can only supplement the humans. Hence, artificial intelligence are just co-pilots. Now, this is what this article is saying. Now, these articles are very important from the examination perspective. Where it is important? From the GS paper 2, you can say that how technology is integrated into governance, e-governance. Now, GS paper 3, there is an integration of technology and health, right? Technology and agriculture. Now, technology and education in GS paper 2. Now, in this way, you can use this news item in the examination in multiple syllabus topics. Now, the context of the news is that this article is saying that AI is pervasive. Now, it has been part of our daily life. It has been interdisciplinary. Now, it has been integrated into every sector of our social, political landscape. Now, this is what the saying. Now, this article is saying that it drives the innovation, revolutionize the business by making the life better. Now, what does it mean? It is saying that it will improve the efficiency of the business. It creates the new jobs. It reduces the time taken to conduct the operations. It will reduce the human inefficiency, wastage of resources, or things like that are mentioned in this news item. Now, another important thing is that many people say that AI is unethical or AI don't have ethical considerations. Now, this article is saying that it is the human's responsibility to look after AI that it works in an ethical manner. Why? Because AI works based on the data it feeds. Now, the data feeding is responsibility of the humans. Now, if you feed ethical data that is rational, reasonable, hence AI functions like that. No, this is what this article is saying. Now, another important thing is clean data is ensured. That is the responsibility of us. Now, from the examination perspective, we will understand certain things, especially the AI's use in education and health from the mains perspective. But before moving that, this article mentions certain things or challenges, especially regarding the AI. That is, because of the AI, there is increasing issue of copyrights. Right? We may hear of the copy of the news, content making, all these things. There are issues of copyrights, data protection, issue of cyber security. Hence, this article is saying that from the data perspective, we need strong data protection and we should not become digital slaves, okay? And this article also mentioned about data localization, and the data that is feeding into the AI model should be unique to Indian condition and Indian context, because in India, it is a culturally diverse country. So within the regions itself, there is a difference in culture, diversity, way of life, languages, ethnicity, cuisines, etc. No, the data that is provided should be culturally diverse, should be upholding cultural relativism. Cultural relativism means tolerating to the and appreciating diverse opinions, etc. Now, this article said that AI does not take away the jobs, rather it creates new jobs, because it wants the person to check the quality of data, quality of AI functionality. It requires software engineers to integrate this AI into the systems, right? In this way, it requires people with high skills. So hence there is need of upskilling. And this article also mentioned there is a need to integrate AI into curriculum of the colleges, because students need to up to date with the technological evolution, right? Now, this article mentions certain examples, especially recently in Tamil Nadu Health Department used artificial intelligence in diagnosis of tuberculosis for the especially 25 to 30,000 people. Now, it is found that this AI tool is more accurate in diagnosing than in a conventional model and more efficient in a quick manner. Now, other important example mentioned in this article is recently elephant deaths are tried to avoid with a AI tool because elephants used to cross one forest to another forest, but tracks are formed in between two forests, right? Now, to avoid collision of these elephants and trains, AI tool is used. Now, in this way, artificial intelligence can be integrated into the multiple sectors. Its ethicality depends upon the quality of data it feeds. Now, this is about the crux of the entire context of different articles mentioned in this newspaper. Now, we'll see from the examination perspective how it is useful in education and how it is useful in health sector. Now, how artificial intelligence can be used in the education sector. For example, from the student's perspective, it can be used in personalized learning. What does it mean? We can generate a quick, crisp points summary of what we studied. We can generate the diagrams, etc. And it will track the abilities of the individuals, their scores based on one's abilities and needs. Right? Next, automated grading. It grades different levels of evaluations without human intervention. Right? It can be intelligent tutoring. Now, complex topics can be simplified using AI, diagrammatic representation, expressions, etc. Now, data analysis. Now, data analysis is very important to track the students' performance, where they are lacking. Now, it's a quick analysis about different individuals from the education perspective. Now, accessibility. What does it mean? There are physically or visually impaired students. They cannot see. Now, text to audio. No, in this context, it can be used, right? Now, these are the multiple things or multiple ways AI can be incorporated. Of course, there may be challenges such as lack of human interaction will reduce the empathy among the individuals. There is need of teacher training because artificial intelligence analytics has to be understood by the teachers also, right? Things like that, there are challenges. Now, another important thing is that infrastructure. You know that the basic physical infrastructure is lacking in some of the schools, especially government schools in India, public schools. Now, integration of AI requires a lot of digital infrastructure, internet penetration, right? These are the things are challenges, and there are digital divide also based on the economic level. Not everyone has smartphones, laptops, things like that, so they cannot access to these resources. Now, from the health perspective, we will see certain things. Now, from the health perspective, the first important benefit is revolutionizing diagnostics. What does it mean? For example, it is said that based on the patterns and it can detect early stage cancer also. This can avoid deaths. And not only that, certain basic findings of the scanning and MRI scanning are missed by the human eyes or doctors. So such subtle abnormalities can be found by the AI tools, right? Next important thing is personalized treatment plans. Nowadays, there is a discussion about precision medicine, right? Now, for precision medicine, you need to track the person's individual past record about his health, the type of medicine he or she is used, type of diagnostics that he or she done. Now, based on these past record, AI can provide personalized treatment plans. Next, drug discovery and development. Now, biotechnology is using a lot of digital technology in gene research. Now, these gene patterns can be easily identified and helps in drug discovery and development by the AI, right? Now, it can enhance clinical workflows. What does it mean? Now, it integrates the data. Like, for example, doctor-patient conversations can be recorded automatically. This reduces the time of the doctor to spend on that in recording and all such things, right? And not only that, it can send appointments as per the doctor's availability, patient's flow, things like that. Next, remote monitoring and telemedicine. Telemedicine, as you know, that we access to the remote areas and all those things. Maybe there are challenges like again here patient's data is very private in nature. There is issues of privacy. Again, there is issues of same digital infrastructure regarding it. And you know that there is a placebo effect or patients feel comfort with the interaction of the doctors only directly and touch of the doctors. They feel confident. Now these are all things are missing in the AI. These are maybe challenges. Now keep these points in mind. This can be used in the mains examination in GS paper 3. Now coming to the next article. Now this article is saying that consensus on new climate finance goal remain elusive. Now, why it is saying that? Now, today, November 22, the conference, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference that is happening in Azerbaijan, Baku, is concluded. Now, this article is saying that there is no conclusive climate finance goal or agreement that is reached between developed and developing countries. Now, what does it mean? You know that common but differential responsibility. Now, this is what we are talking about since many days in the news analysis, right? Now, it has been said that developed countries are more responsible because of their early industrial development. they release more greenhouse gases. Now, hence they are responsible. Now, developing countries has a responsibility of welfare expenditure. They need to develop, so they need to invest in infrastructure, social welfare policies. But they have less finance. Now, in this context, the developed countries are being asked by the developing countries to finance their transition into green energy. Now, this is what. Now, how much amount of money is has to be given? Now, in 2015 Paris Agreement, it has been agreed that $100 billion a year will be given by 2020. But it is also an elusive goal, and developing countries are saying that this goal is not yet reached. Now, that is what the developing countries are saying. Now, developing countries are saying that from 2025 onwards till 2035, developing countries should give above $100 billion a year for the green transition or transition away from the fossil fuels. So this is what the things that developing countries are saying. Now, another arguments on which there is disagreement is that developing countries are saying that developed countries should give low cost loans or grants that does not need any repayment. Now, this is what they are saying. Now, there is a need of more investment of public finance, that is finance from the government, not from the only private institutions. Now, this is what the arguments of the developing countries. Now, what are the developed countries are saying that they are saying in 2021 2022 they mobilized and transferred $150 billion. Now, they are also arguing that don't need to differentiate between whether it is public finance or corporate finance, whatever it may be, and don't use words like grants or loans. It can be any source of revenue, any source of mobilization of resources. That is what developed countries are saying. Now, there is a disagreement of who should be paid, how much should be paid, who is more responsible than others. Now, things like that are not agreed. Now, another important agreement or disagreement is that how much should least developed countries, small and developing nations, should we get. Now, this is disagreement about this. Now, another important thing, disagreement, or you have to know about this NCQG, New Collective Quantified Goal. Now, this is a term that is very much popular in this conference. Now, what does it mean? This is nothing but the amount of resources or money that the developed countries should give to developing countries to achieve their climate targets. Now, developing countries are saying the money that developed countries should give should not only meet to NDCs or national determined contributions, but their money should be given for climate mitigation, increasing adaptation capacity, and money to compensate for the damage that is already happened in the developing countries. Now, these are what the arguments given by the developing countries. Now, in this way, there are a lot of disagreements. In this way, today the conference is concluded. In the coming days, we will discuss what are the outcomes majorly from the mains perspective. Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that India needs an environmental health regulatory agency. Now, why it is said like that? It said that in India there is CPCB to control pollution, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to look after the health related policies, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change to look after environmental regulations, and there are urban planning related ministries also. Now, there are many ministries, but all these are interlinked. Now, that is what this article is saying. Now, this article is saying that India is an emerging rapid economy. So, this in the process of developing, emissions will be inevitable. Now, because of these emissions, there are health challenges. Now, it is being said that because of air pollution, there is deaths related to the lungs, lung damage, respiratory problems, cardiac arrest, things like that. Now, in this way, health, environment, development, climate change, all these are interrelated. Hence, there is a need of coordinated action towards this challenge. And for this, an environmental health regulatory agency is required. Now, this is what this article is saying. Now, this article further said that this is not a new thing. This was there already in various countries. For example, Environmental Protection Agency in USA, UBA in Germany, Ministry of Environment in Japan. All these are taking coordinated actions. Now, why this coordinated action is required? Now, we will look into it. Now, recently, emission gap report of 2024, it said that in India, there is 6% more greenhouse gases are emitted than previous year. Right? And not only that, there is increasing cases of non-communicable diseases, respiratory diseases. And in this context, there are vulnerable populations such as children, old age, pregnant people are more affected or disproportionately affected. Hence, because of this working in silos of different ministries or different departments, there is no seamless flow of data across the things, right? Now, in this context, this article is saying that India need an environmental health regulatory agency. Now, this regulatory agency will help in research. Now, this research can be useful in transitioning into the policies, suggestions. This help in meeting NDC targets. When there is an integrated population, this reduces the burden on healthcare burden on government exchequer. Right? This also helps in targeted usage of resources, allocation of resources towards the climate change. Now, for example, it is said that in an area, if the river is polluted, soil is polluted, air is polluted, in that area, there is more chance that most of the people are prone to health diseases, deaths. Now, in this context, if there is an integrated cooperation and coordination and redressal of the issues, things like that can be easily addressed. Now, for that, a localized solutions is required with a bottom-up approach. Now, these type of agencies will use local data from the local agencies such as panchayats, NGOs, etc. When this agency is there, it empowers with data NGOs so that they can question the government. They can make people aware about the environmental health or negative effects of polluting environment, air pollution, things like that. Now, in this way, this agency can revolutionize the policy making in India, can reduce the time taken from data to policy. Now, this article also mentioned about ICMR. Now, India, we have Indian Council of Medical Research regarding research about health, but this have less impact as because many of the studies does not translate into policies in India, right? Now, for that, there is a need of consensus among the stakeholders that can only possible with this environmental health regulatory agency because it contains all the stakeholders such as policymakers, scientists, civil society members. Now, in this way, it leads to collectively a coordinated action towards the climate change, environment, economy, ecology, and health. Now, this is what this article is saying. Now, where you will use this article? In GS paper 3, it is very important, environmental impact assessment is a syllabus topic. Now, this article is mentioning about health impact assessment, right? Now, any policies that you are taking, any construction you are taking, any infrastructure project, whether it is urban planning or anything, this article said that you need health impact assessment. That health impact does not mean only physical human health. It includes both environmental health, human health, things like that. Now, in this way, you can use in environmental impact assessment question or any question regarding conservation or biodiversity in GS paper 3 or in any health related question in GS paper 2. Now, you can use this item in multiple syllabus topics, right? Okay. Now coming to the next article. Now this article is saying that is social media doing more harm than good to democracy? Now what is the context of the news? Now before going to the context, how it is relevant to the syllabus? Now if you see UPSC JS paper 2 mains previous year question, it was asking about freedom of speech and expression, hate speech. Now social media is a medium that is used, can be used for expressing, right? It can be any ways like voice, speech, songs, etc. Things like that. Now, in this way, social media and democracy are relevant from the examination perspective, right? Okay. Now, what's the context of the news? The context of the news is saying that Elon Musk recently, because of his popularity of X, that is formerly called as Twitter, he able to change the political discourse in the elections of America. Now, this is what this article is saying. Now, this article clearly mentioned that Elon Musk openly supported Trump candidature. Now, social media can be used to get information, generate opinions, right? Popularize the propaganda, etc. Now, in this way, if the owner of a particular platform who is having millions of people, for example, just been said that in Twitter there are around 350 million people. Now, how far it is correct to influence in a one-sided manner? This lead to partisanship and biasness in decision making and opinion generation in the society, right? Now, this is what this article is saying. Now, this article is saying that social media is a advantages for democracy in one way. Now, it also has certain disadvantages. Now, what can be the suggestions given? Now, this is what discussed in this article. Now, we will see that from the mains perspective. Now, what happened recently? Recently, it has been said that among the youth or non-youth, everyone is consuming information, particularly from the social media. Now, it become a primary source of information for everyone. Now, why it is happened? Because people have nowadays less attention span. They are very less patient because they are not able to read the newspapers or authentic legacy journalism sources, right? They are more into the social media to get the information what they want. Now, one of the advantage of using social media is there is unfiltered news, right? There is no barriers, free flow of interaction, communication, spread of the news, etc. Right? There is a one amount of accountability. How is it possible? For example, using social media, you can tag ministers. It may be central ministers, state ministers. You can ask them any question by tagging them, right? Now, in this way, there is certain amount of accountability. You can post a video. There is no restrictions, things like that. In this way, there is unfiltered content, which ensures accountability among the leaders. Now, this is accountability is part of the democracy. Now, one way it is promoting democracy. Now, social media can be used for digital activism or collectivism. What does it mean? Digital activity means citizens are very active in digitally in questioning the governance or criticism, dissent. Now, dissent is the core of democracy again, right? In one way, it is promoting democracy. Now, another thing is people's participation. Now, social media is anonymity in nature, right? You no need to show your identity, original identity. Now, in this way, people are interested in participation, giving their voice, support, either in the form of likes, shares, things like that. Okay. In this way, there is a mobilization of people also. Now, all these are the democratic things, right? And it democratizes the information also, right? Now, information is like a gold these days. Now, all these are the best practices. Now, social media is also helpful in globalizing the information. For example, in this news article, it is mentioned that in Iraq war, there are more people died than Palestine war. But we don't know about Iraq on those days because social media is not very much active on those days. Now, today's Israel-Palestine war, we know that how many people are there, what's the situation. Now, it is because of social media that we came to know these things are happening. Now, in this way, information is democratized all around the world, right? Now, these are the things happening. Now, what can be the challenges that this article mentioned? Now, this article is mentioned that social media can be used for propagandizing the information to benefit one individual. For example, in this example, this article itself mentioned that Elon Musk is shaping the political discourse in support of the one candidature. Now, this article also mentioned that Elon Musk tweeted the algorithm to see Musk posts. For example, you know that in Twitter or any platform, you will see the posts that you follow mostly, right? But in this, it said that he tweaked the algorithm in which everyone will see the Musk posts. Now, it is easy to cut the free speech in social media. Why? It is said that billions of people are engaged in single platform. For example, Twitter, it is around 350 million, right? In Facebook, it is around 2 billion people, things like this. So when there are these many number of peoples, the opinion generation or opinion form, information share is very much important, right? Now, in this way, when you want to restrict a particular platform or restrict particular individual, if you consult or have interaction with this platform, such as it may be Facebook or Twitter, you can easily cut the freedom of speech of that individual, right? Now, hence, this saying that freedom of speech is monopolized by the platforms like this. Now, this article is saying there is need of decentralized information systems. Now, what does it mean? That means that freedom of expression or social media should not be restricted to Twitter or Facebook. We need to have multiple platforms to express our freedom of speech and expression in multiple ways. Hence, there is a need of decentralized information systems. We should not depend only on Twitter. Now, another important thing is lack of check on harmful content. Now, harmful content, there is an issue of religious indoctrination, right? Pornography, malicious news, fake news, trolls. Now, all these are the harmful content for the society. Now, there is no check on this. In this article, it's clearly mentioned that there's a lack of investment on content moderation. What does it mean? If the content is harmful to the society, socially, economically, culturally, it will be put down, right? But this is not happening in recent days. Now, this article clearly mentioned that there is Sri Lanka and Myanmar riots. Now, it is said that recently there is riots happening in Sri Lanka, but this content was not moderated. Now, this reinforced the social situation and affected the social fabric in the country. Now, another important thing is that there are Myanmar riots happening in the recently, especially regarding Rohingyas persecution. Again, this was also not moderated in the social media platforms like Facebook. Now, it is also mentioned that India has less number of content moderators per million population. Now, this indicating that social media platforms are not taking responsibility nor interested in investing in money in content moderation. Now they are not taking their responsibilities. Now this article clearly mentioned that even Elon Musk is sharing posts and news regarding Southport's violence or Southport riots in England. Now this reinforcing the violence, right? Now social media owners itself is promoting information like this. Then who will control and who is responsible? Now in this way, social media is considering as a double-edged sword towards the democracy. Now, this article mentions certain suggestions to control the negative effect of social media and democracy. Now, this article is saying that there is a need of content moderation, even it is manually or human AI. Now, AI should leverage so that socially negative or socially violent or the socially divisive content should be controlled or should be taken down. So, for that, we need content flagging. That is what this article mentioned. Now, this article mentioned one important thing is that because of the social media, people are not able to differentiate which is the news or which is the views, because social media can be used to promote your views also, right? And people are not able to ascertain that whether it is authenticated news or not. Now in this way, there is what is real, what is fake, we cannot decide. Now this article is saying that there is a need of media literacy in the schools since childhood, so that children are able to know that whether it is authenticated news or not, whether it is true or not. Next, another important thing mentioned in this news is traceability of harm or abusers. Now, these are the things this article mentioned about suggestions. Now, keep note of these points so that you can use in your mains examination. So, that's all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.